Alright guys, welcome back to another video. We have UFC 317 Topuria versus Oliveira coming up this weekend. 2 days. I'm actually excited. We've had a couple okay cards after a bunch of really bad cards. In my opinion, this is probably one of the best cards of the year, if not the best card of the year. Obviously, International Fight Week. You'd think, hey, this is going to be the best card of the year. It's pretty good. It's not insane, but it's definitely a really good card that you're going to be super excited for. And there's a lot of fights that I like on here. Not a lot of well, there's some random matchups. We'll get into it, but for the most part, it's pretty good. Okay, so down at the bottom of the card, we're going to go through all the fights and give my predictions and breakdowns on the fights. How crazy would it be if Joshua Van somehow finds himself in a title fight at 125 this weekend instead of Brandon Royval for some reason, and somebody pulls out, two people can't make it, and Joshua Van wins the title just like that? That'd be pretty sick. But probably not gonna happen. Anyways, so right off the bat, I don't know these first two fighters on the card, so I'm going to break them down. And I'm not gonna, rush around too much with some of this. Jhonata Diniz is probably the better striker. And this, he's a big favorite, but he's probably the better striker. He's definitely the better striker. He's probably gonna knock Alvin Hines out. Niko Price is the last dodo bird, as some people call him. I've never really been a huge fan of Niko Price's fighting style, and I've never thought it's been, amazing. He's kind of awkward, kind of moves awkward. He's not, again, we always talk about athletic. He's not very naturally athletic. He's just very awkward in his movement patterns, and he fights kind of awkward, but not in a Rainer de Ritter awkward where it works well for him, or a DDP awkward where it kind of works well for him, and an awkward where you get a couple wins here and there, but you also get just clapped by some people. I think Jacobe Smith is probably just a better fighter overall, and Niko Price gets hurt a lot in his fights, and I think he's going to get finished. So I'm going to go with Jacobe Smith to finish Niko Price in the second round, first or second round. But I just don't see how Niko Price wins that fight. Next, we got Terrence McKinney versus Vyacheslav Borshchev. This is a good fight. These are kind of the matchups, obviously we have the first two ones where it's Jhonata Diniz. He's still entertaining heavyweight. Niko Price is a bigger name and is still an entertaining fight. I'm going to watch that as, I wouldn't say I'm a hardcore, but more than a casual. Terrence McKinney, he always has entertaining fights, whether he's getting absolutely KO'd in the first round or he's getting a KO in the first round. And Vyacheslav Borshchev is an interesting fighter. He's got the whole Slava Claus thing where people are oh my god, he's like a white Russian Santa, which I really don't ever understand that, but I like it. I'm not just because I don't understand doesn't mean I don't like it. But it's a good matchup. This is a good striker matchup, right? Terrence McKinney, he's going to come out there super strong. He's always looking for some kind of insane finish in the first round. He's very athletic, and he relies on that a lot more than talent. And usually that's why he either gets a big KO or he gets KO'd. And Vyacheslav Borshchev is just a really good striker. We've had him in the UFC, when people come out, they tell all the accolades of what they've done, all this crazy stuff, in their past before MMA or their background, 10-time kickboxing world champion, and he's kind of got that resume vibe that they come out and they're Vyacheslav Borshchev, he's the best in the feet, he's got this insane kickboxing record, and he is really, really good striking, but he's not the best striker by any means in this division. Sometimes, I get this idea in my head that he's the best striker ever in this division, but he's not. And we've seen him get outstriked or have close, striking matches in the UFC against some people. I do think he's better than Terrence McKinney. I think if he doesn't get rocked and KO'd in the first round by Terrence McKinney, which I think for the most part he's pretty durable. He's super gritty. He's going to stay in the fight, as long as he can. And I don't see Terrence McKinney KOing him with a clean shot, and I think Borshchev is going to make it through past the first round, and he's just gonna piece Terrence McKinney up for the next couple rounds because he's going to slow down, and his striking technique is not on Borshchev's level. So I got Borshchev in this one. I'm going to go with a decision. That's crazy to say decision against Terrence McKinney, but I'm gonna go for a decision against Terrence McKinney. Tracy Cortez versus Viviana Araujo. I'm going to go with the Terrence Cortez by Batty decision. I don't know. They're both pretty good. I think Tracy Cortez is a little bit better and has a little bit more plot armor, if that's what you want to call it. But yeah, I'm not going to look too deep into this one. Amil versus Jose Delgado. Oh my god. Amil is 11-0. He's kind of this guy that's like, he's just there for war. But he is very technical. He's very good. He's very durable. He's very gritty. This guy is somebody you have to, even if you get him in a submission, he's not going to tap. He's going to let his arm break or he's going to go to sleep. And, you're probably not going to KO him. But if you want him to stop coming forward and trying to, fuck you up, you better KO him. Because he's not going anywhere. Jose Miguel Delgado, man, I gotta work on my Mexican names, my Austria, whatever. I like these names, like Russian names, it's insane. It's actually like being a UFC fan from North America is just pronunciation's a nightmare. And you could say I could be more cultured, which is probably fair, but Jose's pretty good. I do think that, for the most part, Amil's a little bit. He's a little bit better, and he's just got way more I'm gonna kill you vibe, and I think that's kind of gonna be what happens in this fight. I think he's kind of just gonna push a really nasty pace on Jose, and he's gonna hit him with some big shots, and I think he's just gonna break Jose Delgado eventually. I think Jose Delgado doesn't have the ability to stop Amil. He does have the ability to stop Amil, but I don't think he can. I don't think he will. And I think Amil is going to kind of just overwhelm him and make it a really nasty fight and win that way, which is going to be entertaining. It's going to be a good fight for us. Jack Hermansson versus Gregory Rodrigues. Jack Hermansson's good, man. People forget, man. People forget. Jack Hermansson is he's one of the better guys in this weight class, for sure. He just won against, why do I say Jose Pyfer, bruh? Joe Pyfer. Body Cam Pyfer. And it was a good win, but Gregory Rodrigues, look at this guy, dude. He's built different, bro. He's built different. And his last fight against Jared Cannonier, when that guy comes out, and I had some choice words about him after the why am I forgetting? I just did the name. After his last fight. But the dude is huge for this weight class. He's massive for this weight class. I think he's gonna be the biggest, strongest guy in this weight class, no matter what. He's an absolute freaking unit. The dude is insane. And when he came out and pressured Jared Cannonier in that first round of that fight, first of all, I don't know how Jared Cannonier made it through that, but if he can pressure people like that and impose his will like that, it's a nightmare. And the thing that happened was after the first round, he stopped doing that, which I think, I don't know whether it's cardio, whether it's a bit of game planning, or a little bit of just discouragement. I think Gregory Rodrigues' downfall is not necessarily his technique or skills or abilities, more or less his kind of game planning when he's fighting or the way he fights. Because if he just did what he did in the first round against Jared Cannonier every time, all 3 rounds, he would have destroyed Jared Cannonier. And I think arguably he should have got a finish against Jared Cannonier. I just think that sometimes, if he doesn't get a finish or whatever, he starts to get tired, he changes his game plan. He doesn't move forward as much. This guy, if he's pressuring you, moving forward, looking for big shots, it is the most scary, intimidating guy probably, in the UFC. He's kind of like Yoel Romero, where he's just this super freak athlete with insane power, and he has pretty good technique. His striking's not bad. His grappling is good. His takedown defense is good. And I think that's where Jack Hermansson's gonna have trouble with him, because yeah, he can get down Gregory Rodrigues, but Gregory Rodrigues isn't that bad on the ground. I think his submission defense, his takedown defense is going to be good enough to hold up against Jack Hermansson. And I think if he just pressures Jack Hermansson, and like he did in the Jared Cannonier fight in the first round, I think he can finish this fight and get Jack Hermansson out of there. The dude has insane power, and you have somebody like that walking you down, you're going to be shitting your pants. Peyton Talbott versus Felipe Lima. This is a tough fight to pick, honestly. I like Felipe Lima. He's a good fighter, but plot armor wise, everybody wants Peyton Talbott to win to make, bigger fights, more hype in the UFC and stuff like that. Do I think he can win against Felipe Lima? Yes, I do think this is going to be a very hard fight. I think this is going to be almost equally. I think this is going to be just as hard of a fight as his last fight, which is a problem because his last fight, you know, he got taken down pretty easily, and yeah, wasn't his best performance. His striking is good, but it's not like next level. Like, we talk about how insane his striking is, how good his striking is. It's good, and he does knock people out, but it's not like he's not like a Sean O'Malley, Corey Sandhagen, those guys, like Peter Yan level striker, and just with no takedown defense. He's like below that with less takedown defense. So I do see Felipe Lima have a lot of success in this fight. I think if I had to like bet on it, I think Felipe Lima would probably win this fight, but I'm gonna want Peyton Talbott to win. It's a tough fight for him, man. Like, they're giving him tough matchups now. Ronnie Barcelos is like, he's a pretty good vet and like a pretty tough test. I mean, we saw him beat Cody Garbrandt, so although Cody Garbrandt has not been on a hot streak lately. But yeah, this is a tough test for Peyton Talbott. So I'm gonna go with Felipe Lima, but I want Peyton Talbott to win, so we're gonna go with Peyton Talbot. How about that? Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. I can't go against Moicano. He's one of my favorite fighters / personalities in the UFC. And the way he manhandled Benoit Saint Denis, actually, like, I always thought Moicano was pretty good and, like, you know, definitely like up there in the division. But the way he manhandled Benoit Saint Denis was like, that was an eye opener for me for how good his grappling is with a fucked up shoulder. Like, this guy is really, really good. Like, this guy's next level. And Beneil Dariush's grappling is really good. I don't see Renato Moicano doing that to him. But I also don't see Beneil Dariush, you know, piecing Renato Moicano up on the feet. Moicano's a better striker, the more technical striker. Dariush could hit him with something wild, and he could cause some wild grappling exchanges, but I think Moicano is more technical in all areas of the fight, and I think he wants it more. So I don't know. I personally think Moicano's going to get the W here. I don't think he's going to finish Dariush, but I think he will, you know, win a good 3-round fight. All right, guys, it's time. Joshua Van versus Royval. We did a whole video on this. The Myanmar fan base, if you guys are watching this, you guys are absolutely insane. The support you have for your fighters is ridiculous, dude. It's absolutely ridiculous. I put out a video when this fight was announced about Joshua Van taking it on short notice against Royval. And first of all, huge shout out to you guys for all the support. That video has like 7,000 views, which is pretty crazy on this channel. Like the MMA channel, like for the most part, we know we have 400 subscribers, 140 subscribers. Oh my god, my brain hurts. It's early. Which is crazy to get 7K, you know, views on the video. So I really appreciate it. But literally that comment section is just flooded with Joshua Van will win, Joshua Van will win, Myanmar for the W, Myanmar fighter, Joshua Van will win. It's crazy. Like, the amount of support you guys have for your fighters is really respectable. If you're a Canadian fighter, they're going to be, no one gives a fuck. No one gives, dude, it's like, yeah, whatever, bro. It's kind of like the Kazakh and the other kind of regions like that, when you know, they support their fighter. Everybody like in the region knows about this guy, even though he's like on the regional scene and he's only won like 4 fights. But that's not Joshua Van. Joshua Van is tearing it up, like going on a tear throughout the UFC flyweight division. It's crazy to see how fast this guy has progressed his career. For like, you know, he hasn't been fighting that long, and he's in the UFC just going on a rampage. And I kind of said this in the last fight. His body style kind of reminds me of Malcolm Wallmaker as well, where they just have these like massive, they just have a massive chest and arms, and then like kind of a skinnier torso. Bro's like just upper body maxed out. I don't know if these guys have been doing like just chest only, but he also kind of fights like them, where like Wallmaker, where he kind of like walks forward and he doesn't rush it. He just looks for boxing shots and mixes up and looks for big, you know, he's throwing to hurt you. The problem I have with this fight for Joshua Van, I think he can win it. I think it's a very winnable fight for him. But he's taking a huge step up in competition. His last fight against Bruno Silva was good, and Bruno Silva is a good flyweight, but he's not on Brandon Royval's level. I think Brandon Royval, this little mini Nate Diaz pitbull looking motherfucker, is probably the best UFC best flyweight. And he was saying in his interviews that he thinks he's like greatly underestimated in all of his fights, and I think it's true. I think he's probably one of the best flyweights, if not the best flyweight in the division right now. I know he's lost to Pantoja, but dude, Pantoja's a tough out, and it's just not a great matchup for his style. I think Brandon Royval beats pretty much everybody else in the division, and I think if you give him another shot against give him a third shot against Pantoja, or is it 4? I don't even know. But I think he could beat Pantoja, dude. I think this guy, like, would he beat Pantoja? Maybe, probably not. But I think he could. I think he's really, really talented. I think he's good everywhere. His grappling, his scrambling, his pace, his output is really, really good. Like, there's not one spot in the fight where anybody can beat him. The only thing he's lacking is power. Like, he's not one-shot KOing people or hurting people. Joshua Van hasn't been doing that necessarily, but he has that potential to do that. I think Joshua Van is going to be hitting way harder than Royval. I don't think Royval is going to be able to take Joshua Van out of there with strikes. I don't see Brandon Royval doing enough in the striking to, like, significantly hurt Joshua Van and drop him or get a TKO. I think although it's possible, Charles Johnson did that, and Royval kind of fights similar to Charles Johnson, where it's high output and not as, bigger shots, but I do think he can out-grapple Joshua Van. He's not going to be as strong as Joshua Van in the grappling, but I do think he can out-grapple him. I think his skill level in the grappling is going to be considerably higher. Joshua Van does have really good takedown defense, though, but I could see, some kind of situation where maybe Royval gets hit with something and he gets hurt, and Joshua Van tries to rush him, and Royval scrambles and ends up on top, or vice versa, where he kind of rocks Joshua Van a little bit and starts grappling or he jumps on him. I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's Joshua Van is going to walk forward for the most part in this fight because he doesn't have too much to worry about Royval, in terms of power or getting rocked. I don't think Royval is going to rock him. I think Joshua Van knows that, so he's going to come forward, look for his big shots in the striking, and just try to stop all the takedown attempts that Brandon Royval might throw at him. But I do see this being one of those fights where it's Max Holloway just piecing up, Josh Emmett or somebody at range. Because Royval has the ability to just output Mog Joshua Van and piece him up at range in this fight. For sure. And stop and do better in any kind of grappling exchange, I think. So it's a really tough fight for Joshua Van. It would be really sick to see him win and fight for the title next. Who knows? But I also really want to see Brandon Royval fight for a title. I want to see Brandon Royval get a title. My ideal, this sucks for Joshua Van, but my ideal way this plays out, and you guys can hate on me in the comments, but I want Kai Kara-France to win the title. Then I want Brandon Royval to beat Kai Kara-France, and then both these guys can both of those guys have fought so much and gone through such a long, arduous career, so close to the top to not get a title at the end of the line. So I want to see both these guys get a title at the end of the line. That would be really just to be able to say, hey, I was a UFC champion for both those guys. I think they deserve it. And then Joshua Van, in 2-3 fights later, can fight for the title and win it against whoever's left. So that's my ideal world. Although I do see Joshua Van just winning this, and then Joshua Van versus Kai Kara-France would be an interesting fight as well. I think he would do well in that fight. But I'm going to go with Brandon Royval. He's a really close favorite, which I think he should be a bit more favorite. He's number one. He's the best He's the best flyweight in the division outside of Alexander Pantoja, and Joshua Van just got ranked. So this fight is entertaining. It's interesting to me. I think Kai Kara-France can get it done. I'm hoping he gets it done. Like I said, Pantoja's he's good. He's good everywhere. His main thing is he's just like a little he's like a silverback gorilla, but 5'5". He's just just a mean just little Brazilian dude that's just gonna walk you down. He's not moving for anybody. You're not gonna out-grapple him. You're not gonna out-strength him at this division. You can outstrike him, but you're not gonna out-grit him, and you're probably not gonna knock him out. But if anybody's going to knock him out, it's Kai Kara-France. So we'll see. I think Kai Kara-France can get a finish here, and I'm hoping he gets a finish here. But we can easily see Pantoja kind of masterclass. I'm going to go with Kai Kara-France by TKO. That's my, fingers crossed omen to the gods. But I think Pantoja's going to have a hard time just mauling Kai Kara-France. Kai Kara-France is a gritty fighter. He got dropped by Brandon Moreno's liver kick, but I don't think Pantoja's got that kind of shot and that kind of accuracy in the striking. And I think Kai Kara-France is going to be able to stop the takedowns and not get mauled on the ground. I think for the most part, like for Pantoja to maul him on the ground, it's possible that he wins like 2-3 minutes of a round, but not all 5 like that. So I'm gonna go with Kaka France by TKO. And last but not least, Olivera versus Topuria. Dude, when I first saw this fight, I was first thinking about this fight. I was like, okay, Oliveira, guys, I think he can get it done, and I think we're underestimating him quite a bit. But fuck me, dude, if I haven't watched all the interviews of Ilia Topuria and the countdowns and everything, this guy's confidence just completely switched. It's literally just the confidence. Like, not his technical skills, not what both of them are able to do. It's just like this dude's like confidence in himself and his game plan working has just convinced me to think that he's going to win. And I do think that he's going to win against Oliveira, which kind of sucks, but also doesn't suck. Like, if Ilia just goes in there and starts as Charles Oliveira, like, everybody loves Charles Oliveira and we want to see him win. But, dude, the star that turns Ilia Topuria into is insane. Like, he's going to be, like, the biggest thing in UFC if he does that. And I do think that he has potential to do that. Like, watching his open workouts and stuff like that, the dude is really, really good in the striking. He is going to have a height disadvantage against Charles Oliveira and a reach disadvantage, but people talk like 3 inches is like an insane amount. It's like this much. It's not that much. Like, for me personally, I'm like 5'3". I spar against guys that are like, 5'7", and I don't even think they're tall. Like, if I'm sparring against somebody who's 5'7" and like weighs like an extra 10 pounds than me, I'm not like, this guy's huge, like I can't possibly fight against him. It's like, it's a typical day. Like, it doesn't matter that much. And I know, like, this is in the UFC at the highest level, so yeah, like, Charles Oliveira is going to be a bit bigger than Ilia, but I really don't see it, being that big of a difference. He just fought Max, who's a similar height to Charles Oliveira. I don't know. I don't think that the height is going to be that big of an issue for Ilia Topuria, and I think that people make 3 inches of height seem like it's a bigger deal than it is, and like, it's 5 inches of reach. People are going to make it seem like a bigger deal than it is. So I think Ilia Topuria is not going to have an issue with the height and the reach of Charles Oliveira. The thing is, too, Charles Oliveira gets cracked. Like, Max Holloway doesn't get hit, like, cracked like that ever. Charles Oliveira gets cracked like that in every one of his fights. Same with Volk. Volk doesn't get cracked like that in any of his fights except for the Islam one, but that's Fat Volk off the couch. And Ilia Topuria is able to, crack these guys and to find that shot. And Oliveira is somebody, like, who's been proven to get, like, that shot lands on him a lot. So it'll be interesting. And people are talking about the power not translating up a weight class. Again, it's the weight. I think one weight class like that, like, it's a difference, but I don't think it's as big of a difference as people make it seem. Like, anybody who grapples, who trains, who competes knows that, like, 10 pounds is a big difference, but it's not that big of a difference. It's not that big of a difference. If you're like 5'3", like, let's say I'm 5'5" or whatever, 5'3", fighting somebody who's 5'11", like Sean O'Malley in the bantamweight, like going up that 10 pounds to fight somebody that tall, that's going to be a big range disadvantage for sure, absolutely. But this is not the same case here. This is not like 5'3" to 5'11". This is 3 inches, right? And again, the UFC height things are always a little off, so we might like see them in the octagon and Charles Oliveira looks absolutely massive. But I don't think it's going to be that big of a difference, and I think that Ilia is going to kind of have his way with Charles Oliveira in this fight, which sucks to say, but I do think it's going to happen. I think it's a really interesting fight. I'm really excited to see this fight, and I do think that anything can happen. Well, I think that Ilia is going to win, but I don't, I'm not sold on that. Like, I'm not convincing myself that, like, I'm going to put like $100 on that shit. I'm not even going to put $20 on that shit, because who knows what could happen. But I'm going to enjoy this fight, and this fight card is good. There's a lot of good fights in this fight card. There's a lot to be excited about. We got Joshua Van, who's coming up. We got Brandon Royval. We got Moicano. We got Talbott. Gregory Rodrigues is always entertaining. Tracy Cortez got a booty dumper on her. Amil is entertaining. Borshchev's always a good fighter, like interesting. Dodo Bird's gonna get KO'd. Jhonata Diniz is exciting. Pantoja, Car France is a good fight. Main event is definitely like the biggest fight that you can make in this division. So I'm really excited to watch this card, and I want to make a prediction video for you guys for this. We're not doing prediction videos on everyone because sometimes I don't have time, but I did want to make one for this. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you want to see another video, like and subscribe, and yeah, thanks guys. Deuces.